Marcus stared at the eviction notice, the bold red letters blurring as tears threatened to spill. 3 months behind on rent, electricity shut off last week, and now this, a final warning. His small apartment, once a symbol of his independence, had become a prison of mounting debt and broken promises. His phone buzzed, a text from his sister. "Dad's treatment isn't covered by insurance. They're asking for $15,000 up front. I don't know what to do." Marcus closed his eyes, the weight of responsibility crushing his chest. He'd left their small town with big dreams of making it in the city, of sending money home, of being the family hero. Instead, he was drowning, unable to even save himself. His photography degree, once his ticket to success, now seemed like a cruel joke. The occasional freelance gig barely covered meals, let alone the mountain of bills that grew each day. He scrolled through his bank app. $247.32 remained to his name. That evening, huddled in his cold apartment, Marcus flipped through his portfolio, stunning photographs that no one wanted to pay for. His phone rang, an unknown number. He answered, desperate for any opportunity. "Marcus, this is Elijah Reeves. I saw your work at the university showcase last year." Marcus sat up straighter, heart pounding. Elijah Reeves was a name everyone in the industry knew, a renowned photographer whose work graced the covers of prestigious magazines. "I've been watching your social media posts. You have a unique eye," Elijah continued. "Would you be interested in assisting me on a project? The pay is substantial." Hours later, Marcus found himself driving through the winding roads of the exclusive hillside neighborhood, his beat-up car looking painfully out of place among the mansions. Elijah's home was modern and imposing, glass and steel perched on the edge of a cliff, overlooking the twinkling city lights below. The man who greeted him was in his 50s, silver-haired with piercing blue eyes that seemed to evaluate every detail. His handshake was firm, his smile practiced. "Come in, Marcus. Let's discuss business." Elijah's studio was breathtaking, state-of-the-art equipment that Marcus had only read about, walls adorned with famous photographs, awards displayed in glass cases. It was everything Marcus had ever dreamed of. "Drink?" Elijah offered, pouring amber liquid into a crystal glass without waiting for an answer. Marcus accepted the drink with trembling hands. "Thank you for this opportunity, Mr. Reeves. Your work has been an inspiration to me for years." Elijah nodded, settling into a leather chair. "I need someone with your specific talents. Someone hungry, someone with nothing to lose." Something in his tone made Marcus's skin prickle. He sipped the drink, wincing at its strength. "I run a very exclusive business on the side," Elijah continued, his eyes never leaving Marcus's face. "High-profile clients, very discreet. They pay exceptional money for exceptional services." Marcus nodded, not entirely understanding but desperate to impress. "I need someone to photograph these sessions, someone with an artistic eye who knows when to capture the perfect moment." Relief washed over Marcus. Photography. This was something he could do, something he excelled at. "What kind of sessions?" he asked, already imagining fashion shoots or celebrity portraits. Elijah's smile tightened. "Adult content, Marcus. Very exclusive, very unconventional adult content." The words hung in the air between them. Marcus's mouth went dry. "The clients are wealthy individuals with specific tastes. Nothing illegal, I assure you, but certainly taboo." Elijah leaned forward. "One night of work, $20,000 cash." Marcus nearly choked on his drink. 20,000. Enough to cover his father's treatment, his own debts with some left over to breathe. What exactly would I be photographing?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Elijah stood, walked to a sleek computer and pulled up a file. "See for yourself." The images that appeared made Marcus's stomach lurch. Not illegal, technically, but deeply disturbing. Powerful men and women in scenarios that exploited others, barely legal participants who looked drugged, vulnerable, captured in moments of humiliation and pain, disguised as pleasure. "These sell for thousands per image to the right buyers," Elijah explained calmly, as if discussing the weather. "Tonight's client is a federal judge, very specific requests, very generous payment." Marcus set down his glass, his hand shaking. And I would just take the photos. Just document the evening. Be invisible. Catch the right moments. Elijah closed the laptop. You're an artist, Marcus. Think of it as simply another form of expression. $20,000. His father's treatment, his rent, his debts, his family's relief. When would this be? Marcus heard himself ask, hating the question even as it left his lips. Tonight. The client arrives in an hour. Marcus's heart hammered against his ribs. One night, one job. Then he could walk away, never look back. He thought of his father growing weaker each day. I'll do it, he said, the words tasting like acid. Elijah smiled, satisfied. I knew you would. You're a survivor, Marcus. He handed Marcus a professional camera worth more than his car. The memory card is already inserted. Everything is set up in the basement studio. Wait for my signal before you start shooting. The basement studio was impeccably designed. Perfect lighting, backgrounds, props arranged with careful precision. It looked like any professional photography setup, except for certain items that made Marcus's skin crawl. Restraints disguised as fashion accessories, bottles of pills on a silver tray, a contract on the table with a signature line at the bottom. Marcus tested the camera, finding refuge in the familiar actions. The technical aspects were a welcome distraction from the moral implications of what he'd agreed to do. The door opened, and a young woman was escorted in by Elijah. She couldn't have been more than 19, with vacant eyes and unsteady movements. She was beautiful, but clearly intoxicated or drugged. This is Lily, Elijah said. She's signed all the necessary paperwork. Our client will be here shortly. Lily barely acknowledged Marcus, her gaze unfocused as she swayed slightly on her feet. Is she okay? Marcus asked, unable to help himself. Elijah's smile didn't reach his eyes. She's fine. Just nervous. The pills help with that. He left them alone, the door clicking shut with finality. Marcus stood frozen, the camera heavy in his hands. Lily sat on the edge of a couch, staring at nothing. Are you really okay with this? Marcus asked quietly. She turned to him, blinking slowly. I need the money, she slurred. College tuition. Her words hit him like a physical blow. He saw himself in her, desperate, willing to compromise to escape financial prison. His phone buzzed, a text from his sister. Dad's asking for you. Doctor says we should prepare for the worst. Attached was a photo of his father in a hospital bed, thin and pale, tubes snaking from his arms. His dad had worked 2 jobs to put Marcus through college, had never complained even when his own health began to fail. Marcus looked at Lily again, seeing someone's daughter, someone's sister, someone who deserved better than this. The sound of voices came from upstairs, Elijah greeting the client, the deep rumble of a man's laughter, footsteps approaching the basement door. In that moment, clarity cut through Marcus's desperation like a knife through fog. He couldn't do this, not for any amount of money. He approached Lily, speaking low and fast. We need to leave, now. She looked at him in confusion. But the money? There are other ways, he said, not sure if it was true, but needing to believe it. This isn't worth it. Not for either of us. The doorknob turned. Marcus made a split-second decision. He grabbed Lily's hand and pulled her toward the back exit he'd noticed earlier. They burst into the night air just as shouts erupted behind them. Marcus helped Lily into his car, hands shaking as he fumbled with the keys. He'll find us, Lily mumbled, fear cutting through her drug-induced haze. Not if we find help first, Marcus promised, peeling away from the mansion. He drove straight to the police station, the expensive camera still slung around his neck, evidence of what Elijah had planned, what Marcus had almost been part of. Hours later, after statements were given and Lily was safely in medical care, Marcus sat on a bench outside the station. His phone showed a dozen missed calls from Elijah, then texts that evolved from offers of more money to violent threats. He called his sister. I'm coming home, he said when she answered. I don't have the money for Dad's treatment, but I'll figure something out. Together. Just come home, she replied, her voice breaking. "That's all Dad wants." As dawn broke over the city, Marcus felt both heavier and lighter. The weight of his financial problems remained, but the burden of what he'd almost done was lifted. Some prices were too high, some compromises too great, even for dreams, even for survival. 2 weeks later, Marcus stood in a crowded gallery, surrounded by his photographs. After the police investigation into Elijah Reeves made headlines, a legitimate gallery owner had reached out, interested in Marcus's actual portfolio, raw, honest images of struggle and resilience in the city. "These are remarkable," a woman said, studying a particular photograph of an elderly man's weathered hands. "The emotion you capture is so authentic." Marcus smiled. "Thank you. I've learned that authenticity is worth protecting." His phone buzzed. A text from his sister with a photo of their father, still in the hospital but smiling weakly, holding up a newspaper featuring Marcus's gallery opening. They hadn't found all the money for the treatment yet, but a crowdfunding page had raised almost half, and Marcus's first legitimate sales would contribute more. It wasn't a fairy tale ending, but it was honest. It was a beginning he could live with. Some dreams weren't worth the price required, but some dreams, the ones built on dignity and hope, those were worth fighting for no matter how long the journey. Subscribe to our channel and turn on the bell notification for more stories like this, and give this video a thumbs up. Click on this next interesting story. Next.